Are you tired of AAA game studios shelling out a half-baked product for $60 to $70? Are you tired of all the big PvP multiplayer games and want a new co-op experience to play with the boys? Are you bored of falling out of a dropship for the 80th time? Ah shit, wait. Well then you might wanna
Join the Helldivers.
I'm sure by now most of you have either played this game for yourself or heard about it from somewhere else because it has completely taken over as one of the top games currently selling on PC and console. The player base was growing so fast, the dev team actually had to ask people not to buy the game for a while because the servers just couldn't handle the massive influx of people. So what's all this hype about? What's got everybody so excited about a game that nobody was expecting? That's Helldivers 2, and this is a review. So let's just get right into it, shall we?
Together for liberty! Together for liberty.
Helldivers 2 is a third-person squad-based shooter developed by Arrowhead Game Studios, which is a smaller dev team who's probably most notable for their original Helldivers. This newer title is a complete shift from the first Helldivers gameplay, which was more of a top-down arcade shooter that still followed the same story and setting. I'm just gonna throw it out there now, I didn't play the first Helldivers, but this is a pretty drastic change from the original formula. And oh my goodness, this new game is insanely fun to play. In the game, you are a part of an elite military force known as the Helldivers, and it's your job to rid the galaxy of rising alien threats. There isn't any sort of campaign or story mode, but the game is absolutely packed with a ton of different elements that help develop a lore and narrative. The ship or main hub for the game has a couple different NPCs that just straight spoon feed information.
If the automatons had stuck to raiding the developing worlds on the galactic fringe, we might have let them live a little longer. Now, they're dead bots walking.
And the world is packed with random objects that just explain its use or tell a story of what's happening in the area. The game's world is broken up into various solar systems under attack by aliens, and it's your job to complete various missions to repel these forces. This aspect of the game is actually really neat and delivers a pretty unique experience. At any given time, you and everyone who's on the game are actively working against the enemy forces to liberate these planets from their control. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than immersing you in the intergalactic war happening in the game. I can't seriously imagine this map ever being completely 100% liberated because then there just wouldn't be anything to play. For the first few hours, I just kept wondering to myself, what's the point of all this? What am I supposed to be doing or striving towards here? But the more I played, the more I realized it's not really about that at all. It's just supposed to be mindless fun, and it definitely succeeds at doing so. And I don't want to say mindless fun as a jab at the game or anything. There's definitely aspects that take a great deal of thought, such as your character's kit, or typing in star gem codes on the fly in the middle of a fight. But what I really mean is I was just looking at it a bit too critically at first, when really all this game is drop in, shoot stuff, have fun. In total, there's about 10 or so mission types that you can pick between and play. They usually get grouped up in bundles of 2 or 3 missions, but if you wanted, you could grind out the exact same mission over and over. For some people, these might start to get a bit repetitive quickly, but to keep the experience fresh and challenging, there's a whopping 9 different difficulties that you can choose from, each giving more and more rewards upon completion. You're incentivized to play the missions in groups for progressively better rewards, but this honestly doesn't even really seem that worth it when you take into consideration the time it takes to complete certain missions. I mean, I can grind out a super quick mission on a high difficulty and still get more rewards than if I was going through with the longer ones. If they really wanted to make it worth it to complete the whole bundles, I think they should raise the amount of rewards given. Moving on though. Each mission is its own little sandbox with the main objective and side missions or extra loot if you're willing to survive to find it. You don't have to explore everything in the sandbox, but it definitely adds to the experience a bit and stretches out the gameplay times. If you're just speedrunning the main objectives, it can start to feel like a loading screen simulator because you'll spend about 3 minutes actually playing the game and then 5 minutes just trying to get back into another mission. I was just getting on Suicide Squad's head about the same thing, but in Helldivers, at least if you're wanting to play longer without interruption, you can. Each mission can be played with up to a party of 4 Helldivers, and the missions will get a bit harder depending on how many people are in the party, even if you don't change the difficulty. Even if you don't have anyone to play with, this game does a great job at pairing you up with other people, so you can always have some backup in a fight, which is really nice. The play experience is the exact same from level 1 to level 50. The only things that change are your loadout and the mission difficulty. It has all the bells and whistles of any typical shooter, but what really sets this game apart is the star gems. These are used for anything from reviving teammates, calling in a resupply, or dealing mass damage to your enemies. Without these, the game would honestly feel damn near impossible, but this is exactly what you need to give yourself a fighting chance. and they're honestly some of the most fun I've had in the game. It's extremely satisfying calling in an effective orbital cannon or strafing run, but the game does balance things out by putting everything on a timer, so it's not something you can just constantly spam throughout the game. You actually have to think tactically about when the best time for it is, and it forces you to play with the actual third-person combat system they laid out for the game. The actual combat itself is really fun. The first thing with this that really caught my attention was their weapon/ADS behavior, because this was the first time I think I've seen something like this in a game, but it actually really made sense. They've taken into account the full sway and motion of the weapon while moving and or firing. As you can see, there are two separate reticles, one for where the barrel is aiming and one for where the bullets are actually going to go from that angle. This isn't hard at all to get used to, but actually adds some challenge to the gun mechanics, so it's not just point, shoot, dead. Besides just the weapons though, the enemies in the game aren't pushovers either. Most of them have some sort of armor or special weak point for beating them, so you're rewarded for fighting smart and not just endlessly dumping ammo until they fall over. Also, we can't talk about Helldivers without mentioning the literal diving mechanic in the game. It's really fun and adds about 100 style points to any kill. As far as replayability goes, I mean, the play experience is probably great until you hit level 50, but once you're capped out level-wise, I can't see many people sticking around until there's more content. At the time of making this, I'm only around level 20, and I've definitely already played everything this game has going on here about 10 times or so I couldn't imagine doing this when you already have everything unlocked. I'm not speaking for everybody here. I mean, I'm sure there's still gonna be people who really love this game and stick around, but I feel like most other people are going to get distracted from this game rather quick. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, this game really is just drop in, shoot stuff, have fun. It's extremely simple at its core, but it has a lot of unique qualities going for it, like the world, mission style, and the star gems. I mean, mainly the star gems. This game is like Call of Duty Zombies type fun. Unless you're knee deep in some Easter eggs, there was never really a point to loading up and playing some zombies. It was just a fun game mode to go run around and shoot stuff with the boys, and that's the exact same feeling you get playing this. And unless you beat everything on Helldive difficulty, level 9, there's always going to be something to try to accomplish. Moving on to visuals, I think it's important to preface that I was playing this game on PC, and it looks fantastic. I can't speak for the console experience, but I'm sure it's not anything drastically different from this. The game isn't necessarily played in space, but there's various different planets that each look and feel different from the last. Enemy compounds or mission objectives won't change, but the landscape around them does, which can help it feel new each time. Some other standouts for this category would have to be the customizable armor suits, the insane destruction these star gems bring, I mean, look at it. And the loading screen for each mission is pretty cool too, but we'll talk about that more in a second. It's also worth mentioning that for a majority of the time, there's a lot happening on screen. Between the hordes of enemies and 4 people spamming orbital strikes, it might start to get a bit visually straining if you're playing on a big TV or like really close to your monitor. Switching over to audio, starting with sound effects specifically, all the typical character actions sound pretty standard, but the star gem abilities all sound like they have some real punch to them, which is appreciated. When you're dropping an orbital strike into the game, you can damn near feel its power through the headset, especially when you keep dying to them. And all the different enemy types have their own specific audio clips that make them each sound distinct and not just a massive hive mind repeating the same screeches or beat boops. All these elements together create an insanely hectic and blood pumping game experience. Also, before moving on, I just wanted to save the music for last because damn, anytime I hear the music come on when we're dropping into a mission, it gets me hyped out of my mind. It's insane. If I could wake up every morning and have that be the first thing I hear, I would be ready to sprint down the highway to work. I mean, I wouldn't even need a car anymore. I'd probably just give it away. Alright, bugs and issues time. Helldivers 2 is unfortunately no stranger to performance hiccups. Their biggest hiccup, which was actually rather positive, was the game's servers not being able to handle the massive influx in new players, which caused a lot of issues with people's games crashing more frequently or not even being able to play because the entire multiplayer server was at capacity. They ended up getting this fixed pretty quick, but personally during my playtime I still experienced a few different game crashes for various reasons, but not enough to make it unplayable or anything. They were pretty few and far between. Majority of the time the gameplay was pretty smooth while playing too. I can't remember any notable times where things wouldn't work the way they were intended. In conclusion, Your Honor, this game bangs. I don't think Helldivers 2 was on anyone's radar before its release, but it absolutely took over the gaming scene for a little bit there, and it definitely deserves its flowers. It's even more respectable that this game came from a smaller development group and was released for only $40. I mean, half the time nowadays you can get a game for $70 and it's nowhere near a product like this. The work put into it is definitely felt, and this is a fun, fresh addition to the co-op PvE style genre. If I had to wrap this all up into a rating today, 1 to 10, I think I'm gonna hit it with an 8.5. Did I have a great time? Yeah, I enjoyed my time. Could I see myself grinding this alone in the future? Probably not. I think the main appeal for Helldivers 2 is the co-op aspect, and I could definitely play more with some friends to just chill and play some games, but I can't imagine grinding the same missions over and over again solo. This honestly might just be the new COD Zombies for me. I mean, whenever me and the boys are getting smacked in some other game's ranked play, I'll just hit them with the yo.
You know what time it is?
Helldivers 2.
But yeah, with all that being said, that's gonna about do it for the review here today. If you've also been playing Helldivers 2, comment down below and let me know what you think of the game personally. I'd love to hear about it. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Lunar, and welcome to Bound.